Easy now, folks. We've got this Eheim 400 to play with here, so we'll do the usual thing. Pull it out, have a look, and then put it through its paces. So 4 watts of power gives you 400 litres per hour. 2 channels of 200. And it says ultra quiet, so we're going to test that. Got one of these sound meters here. In fact, I've got a wee idea that I'll explain at the end. But yeah, looks pretty cool. It comes with a 3-year guarantee, which I like. If a company believes in its product enough to guarantee it for 3 years, it's got to be pretty reliable, isn't it? Right, let's get it open and see what we're dealing with here. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool right away. The aesthetics are good. Feels solid. The dials are nice and stiff. Doesn't feel like they're going to travel at all. The ability to manage 2 independent lines of 200 litres per hour instead of just 400 litres altogether, I think that is fantastic. We can use this splitter here to operate 1 line of 400 litres per hour if we want. We'll get all this out. In fact, we'll start with the feet because that's what popped out first. So rubberized feet in order to reduce or eliminate vibration. Try and keep it nice and quiet, and they just slot in nice and easy. That's pretty standard for a air pump of this category nowadays, to be fair, but would have been a minus point if they weren't included or attached. See what other accessories we've got. In fact, before we check out the rest of the bag, I've just noticed this, look. A rubberized hanging hook. A lot of air pumps these days do come with the ability to hang it from the wall, but they tend to be molded plastic and attached to the air pump, whereas this being strengthened rubber, well, that's going to cancel out any rattling or again any vibrating from the hook that you hang it from. That's really clever. I really like that. Couple of non-return valves, which are kind of important, and then here's our splitter. So you can either run your air into it from that direction and then it goes off into 2 separate channels, or we can flip it around and have the 2 channels from the pump bleeding into 1. That's how you get your 400 litres per hour coming out of the same line, if that's what you want to do. Next, we've got 2 meters, which is loads of this very good quality air tubing. It's not the stuff that kinks immediately as soon as it goes around the edge of a tank or anything like that. Stuff that gives a bit of resistance and therefore doesn't tend to run the risk of cutting out your air supply unexpectedly. So, amazing they've added those things. And then you got these. Fantastic, by the way. Eheim have included 2 of these diffusers in this pack. And I think these are magic. Obviously, the air goes in through the top there and then out through the ball. Basically what it does is break the bubbles into smaller ones. So it looks kind of better, but also further reduces the noise of the bubbles breaking up through the surface of the water. I would definitely recommend using these if your pump's not running to a sponge filter or a box filter. If it's just air you're looking for, I would use them. My only criticism though, I wish the media was black or dark grey like the rest of it. The white does kind of stand out. I mean, it does a terrific job. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I just wish it was the same colour as the rest of the diffuser. I'm wondering if it's possible to replace it with something else, or maybe experiment with that later down the road. And you can tighten it on a wee bit more for extra diffusion. But yeah, look, it's a great piece of kit. Fantastic they've included it. I've just got that one tiny little criticism. I don't know how well you can see this. In fact, if I put my finger there, the ends of the splitter narrow, which means it's easier to slot your air tubing over the top of it and put it in position. Another really, really cleverly thought out bit of ingenuity from Eheim. So we've got the test tank out and we are setting this up, as I said before, with the 2 lines running into 1, just to get a wee feel for how well it works. The pump itself is plug and play, No messing about with it. You just set up the apparatus, the attachments however you want, and away we go. So I'm going to run it without the diffuser first. We'll see how much air it pushes out. I've just noticed at this point there's no clips to hold the air lines in place, but considering the quality of the other stuff they give us, I think that's a minor. Pick them up for a couple of pence. And wow, there, look. Pushes out some amount of air, doesn't it? So we'll just have a wee play with the dials here. See how much it affects the airflow. What have I got this on? So I've got one on high and one on low. So that's both of them on low, which is even at the low setting a considerable amount of air. And on the high setting, wow. You could probably put your hand over the top of that and it wouldn't even get wet. So yeah, we're pretty happy with that. I reckon you could split the two lines twice again and run 4 sponge filters off of that for smaller tanks, or a few in each, a few in a big tank. Did you happen to notice the water run up the airline when I turned the power off there? That right there is the value of the non-return valves. It's alright when I'm sitting here watching it, but if your power goes off and you're not at home, I've heard horror stories of, you know, tanks being emptied all over the floors. But anyway, kind of glad that happened for that example. Now, let's have a look at the diffuser in operation. Just need to reach over to the plug here, switch it on, and oh, look at that. The bubbles are much smaller now. And you can probably hear in the background, the sound of them breaking the surface is a lot more subtle than before we had the diffuser attached. Prettier too, if you ask me. Especially now we've got the dials turned up to full burn. I think that looks really nice. Said before, I was impressed with these weed diffusers. I just think they're a great big piece of kit. I think they're fantastic. And they include them in the box. Brilliant, eh? I'll tell you what, I've got an air stone running on my big dual tank, but I think I'm going to whip that off and stick this diffuser on there instead. Quick look at the surface. Plenty of vegetation, gas exchange going on now. Yeah, really impressed. Right then, so do we like it? Yeah, we do. Really like it, in fact. If you look at the full package, the quality of the accessories you get can't be overlooked. You've got pretty much everything you need, and everything's a good grade and built well. The unit itself looks good, feels good. Build quality is great. Functionality, fantastic, with the 2 separate dials for each line. Comparing it to any other pump in this class, I think it holds up well. I think it holds up really well, in fact. Probably one of the better ones that I've used. The hanging hook, the rubberized hanging hook, that was a smart step that really impressed me. I'm delighted with that. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic little air pump. It's not silent, but a pump of this size is just never going to be silent. It's pretty quiet. Rather than get the sound meter out now for a reading, I'm going to do another video and compare it to these other other pumps that I've got. All pumps that I like, all pumps that I'm impressed with, but if we get the sound meter out and test them against each other, I'll do that video. I'll do a video on these smaller air pumps as well, kind of a comparison thing. That will probably be of more value to folk for choosing what kind of pump they want in terms of quietness. I'll work on that over the next few days, so that'll be the next couple of videos I'll put out, and hopefully will be of some value and some interest to folk, particularly if you're looking at choosing a pump and want to know how loud or quiet they are, or certainly in comparison to each other. Other than that, in terms of the Eheim 400, I think it's a great piece of kit. Really impressed with it, really like it. It is definitely going to be getting some runtime on my tanks. Eheim are known for putting out good pieces of kit that seem to last a good long while, so I know it says a 3-year guarantee. I wouldn't mind betting it would last much longer than that. So yeah, gets a thumbs up from me, and I'm out. Later.